Can you twerk? Can you stop midway cartwheel and just twerk for a second and then continue? Someone record it, Sam.
I am totally.
What's she doing?
A cartwheel.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? It's uneven. If I fall, it's going to be hilarious.
Yes, it will.
And it's going to be on recording.
Oh, you saw bum crack.
Yeah, my pants are so low.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was more of a round off, but we'll give it to you. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, you got to keep it the way you just had it. Okay, it's on recording. Oh, that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I just wanted to share this with you guys
You're so sweet.
because it's a great night.
Joe, where are you? In Arizona?
No, I'm in California.
Oh, wow. I got a family in California, and they've never showed anything like that.
Well, I like the adventures.
Try to lose it.
Yeah. So we are recording now. So, yeah.
All right. Now we're recording, and I'm about to say something that's just going to.
And I lost
You know,
all
blow us out of the water.
and I lost all my faces.
Well, you brought up, so as we were saying, as I said before, and I'll get into this, I'm backtracking because we're recording now.
Mm-hmm.
There is a grammar, which is the fundamental information you need about something. And then there's logic, which is how to test whether it's true or not, and to break it down and understand this how whether you got it right. And there's logic applies, there's core logic that applies to absolutely everything, and there can be specialized logics for different topics. And then there's the rhetoric, how to put it together. So we learn English, math, the grammar of those. Grammar of words, the speaking. Then we have logic, which we should learn next to say, are we saying the right thing? Did we put this together properly? Then you can start putting it together into uses. Now let's give it a different example where, let's say woodworking. Well, with woodworking, we can cut things, we can sand things, we can nail things together, we can glue things together. These are just stuff you got to learn. Then there's a logic for how you put stuff, how you do woodworking. And then you start working the wood. That's the rhetoric. How to actually building something.
And what would be, and if I can, how would, and we want this applied in our academics, how exactly?
Well, if you learned that, and you learn in that process, you can teach yourself anything else.
Like, what would be the process of, like, you using the argument of, like, the woodworking? How would that work out? Would that be, like, in 1 year they'd be teaching a certain thing, and then the next year they could be compounding on that?
No. The core thing you're supposed to learn is that there is a grammar, there is logic, and there is a rhetoric for that subject. And there's for any subject. So the first one we need to learn is how to communicate, our language. We need to learn the grammar for our language, but it is a grammar. Then we need to learn logic, how to test that what we're doing is correct or what we've been told is correct. And then we start applying that to build something from it. But learning that there is a structure, a common structure to absolutely everything. Then it doesn't matter. The next stuff from that point, if you can read and write, or if you can read and use logic to test, you can teach yourself.
Yeah.
So is this a relative, or is this kind of systematic thinking, is it relatively new, or how old is it?
No, it's called, this is from the Greeks.
Yeah.
Why are we not using it?
Because it was
Because the Romans took over.
That's the big question. That's why I brought this blab up, because
the Prussian system was instituted to train soldiers.
So I see. So rather than teaching people systematic thinking, they just taught people how to follow orders, which kind of goes back to the whole idea that our school system is specifically created for the pre-war period to train people into different like compartments. Like you'll be farmers, you'll be workers, you'll be lawyers, and all that stuff.
Yes.
Bingo.
And so, and of course, we don't live in, and that's a very effective way if you're just trying to produce workers. But from what I understand, you want to produce critical thinkers.
Well, I would like to, and I know other people probably would too, but and we're on the record here now, and so I tend to do much better when I'm on the record than when I'm not on the record. But
okay, so
you said it yourself, Luke, artistic layman, and so did Mark. We're being trained to grow up as soldiers, to listen to.
Or factory workers,
or whatever, and we're
machines.
We're not trained to think independently. We're not trained to follow our dreams anymore, or just whatever. We're just trained to, this is what you go by, ABC, order. Big brother is our friend, kind of thing. There's no independent thought anymore because we're not taught the critical skills of learning how to debate, learning how to talk to people, or whatever. Blab is probably the only place I've ever known that we can literally sit here and talk and have a legitimate conversation with each other.
I greatly appreciate this too.
But I appreciate this too. And Brittany, if you're listening, I'm glad this is available. But it's probably the reason I brought up this Blab is because I wanted people to really think about, do I critically think? Do I know how to critically think? Can I think for myself? Can I ask for opinions? Can I?
Can I test them? Is this true?
Oh, should we pay it forward?
What I think is true.
So since we've had this Blab, should we pay it forward somehow?
Yeah. Now, something I'm going to add in here is that people, we were talking about this, the conspiracy before. People getting together and agreeing to do something is a conspiracy. It's a plan. Conspiracy means to plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's not a negative word. It has a real meaning.
To conspire.
Well, but some of this effect that we have may not, we're at the point now where we've got a bunch of people who cannot think on their own. They have to be led. And it may not have been intentionally done. It may have been a series, and at this point, we actually, you have a series of things that occur that if you're not focusing, so for instance, we're not focusing on learning to critically think. We're trying to get people up in skills so we can get this mass production working. Well, you do that one time, and then they don't have the same skills for teaching critical thinking to the next people, and it goes away some more. And you do this 3 generations, and it's completely gone.
Well, as long as you have an elite class of teachers.
But if you did it after 3 generations, you're going to have a hard time even finding that.
Well, that's because it's an individual basis. You hunt them down and weed them out and train them up to be teachers and keep them in the elite teacher class.
Yeah, if you know that it exists.
Well, no, the people looking for them aren't the common people. They're also the older elites who are trying to look for the other elites.
Well, and there's like...
You're assuming that the elite do this to themselves as well.
Yeah.
The enslavement to themselves?
Well, and what I'm proposing here is that maybe it wasn't some people with the forethought to try to dumb down the masses, which there is evidence to suggest that is actually what happened. But let's just go with the other case, that this was just cause and effect. You do it with a certain amount of people, and then it gets more and more, and eventually you lost the skill. And it's real easy to lose a skill. It's real hard to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an element of stoicism in here that is lacking.
Although Although I would say it's more of an individual basis. I mean, people are not completely environmental. Some people would like to be independent critical thinkers, but are just not given the tools to do so. Or even some who don't have the tools to do so actually excel otherwise.
In some level, everyone has a way of critically thinking. Even if it's not an educated level, somebody has the way to critically thinking. I mean, if they see fire, they're going to say, I'm not going to touch that or else I'm going to get burned. That's a critical thinking process.
And to know enough to direct other objects away from the fire that will catch fire.
Yeah, so critical thinking part of that, though, is that's pattern matching. Fire, negative result. I'm not going to do that again. There's no critical thinking in that. The critical thinking comes in, there's something else that's red. That was red and hot and it hurt. This is red. Will this hurt me or not?
Yeah.
And that's where we start getting the critical thinking coming in, asking a question, figuring out, testing it, as opposed to, everything red. And this is actually used to happen, right? Tomatoes were thought to be poisonous because they're very similar plant as belladonna and a bunch of, I think I'm right in belladonna, but there's some poisonous plants that look like tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're related. They are similar, they are related plants, but tomatoes aren't poisonous.
Right.
But people just didn't touch them because they thought they looked like the other thing. And getting sick and dying is not desirable, so they didn't even try it.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, but that gets back to the question that Kristen asked a long time ago. It's already well out of the picture of question of is there a huge difference between being uneducated and what was the question, Kristen? Is there a difference between being uneducated and ignorant? There's two different meanings. Uneducated means that you were not taught. Ignorant means you just don't know the knowledge. So,
yeah, they're basically the same thing. By the way, what you just said is, so you are ignorant. Why are you ignorant? Are you ignorant because you weren't taught? Are you ignorant because another reason? But either way, you're ignorant. You don't know.
Yeah. And then the best way to distinguish that is, if you're ignorant because you just don't know, then the logical thing to do is, okay, well, I'm going to go find out. Or
And now here's an interesting case. I heard him say the word "why" a lot just a little while ago. Inherently, what do 3-year-olds say?
Why?
2-year-olds say no, but 3-year-olds say, why?
Yeah.
Why? And it may or may not. It's not. No one's really trying to do this, but oftentimes parents and adults get frustrated and just tell kids because I said so and try to shut them up. And that's the worst thing you can possibly do. We are born inherently trying to learn these skills. Why? Why does this work? The correct answer is, if you know, give them an answer. Actually, the correct answer is, well, let's figure it out.
Yes.
It's always the correct answer.
Yeah.
Even if you know why, you want to teach
Figure
the child
together
to figure it out. Because what you're trying to do with a child is make an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that gives
and it's more fun that way.
That
As
gets
a
back
parent
to
of
my
6,
original-
it's more fun that way.
that gets back to my original topic is that no one is being taught how to ask questions anymore. We are just kind of being told what to do, told what to think, why to think it, what to buy, why to buy it. We're not allowed to debate anymore. Logically, we're not allowed to ask questions. And we're not allowed to grow as a society. We're not allowed to grow as a people. We're just kind of being told, this is why, this is what I said, and
Yeah,
I
I
said
don't
so.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys tossed this right, but is it possible that the vast majority of people just aren't good thinkers, or is that the critical thinkers, or is that the whole point of the 10%?
Well, I do think that the vast majority of people aren't good critical thinkers. Actually, we know this. We look around and people will just do things. Like, here's one of the ways you can know that. People will complain about having a problem, but they won't do anything to change it. Right? Or they don't even know how to go about changing it. And they'll just complain about the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that
helpful.
that's a product of human nature. I believe that that's more a product of bad teaching.
Yes. Or values. And kind of back to what I was saying about telling, people trying to shut down 3-year-olds. We got into a situation where we were pressed for time. And we're now definitely in a situation where we're very pressed for time. We don't have 2 parents. We don't have 6 parents anymore. We used to have 6 parents. We have 2 grandparents, 2 parents, and the child.
Well,
So we'd have a
then-
6
and
to
then
1.
and then sometimes aunts and uncles and cousins and that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we have 1 parent
Mm.
who is busy trying to do stuff. So you don't have time to answer the question, the child, or go through that process and teach them how to do stuff. We're in a very hurry. So it's not intentional that you're shutting down the child, but you are. And then that becomes, all right, the kid learns that you're not supposed to ask. So then when they hear it, they just automatically pattern match and shut it down, not knowing why it was shut down on them. And then it just repeats.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm still going to be in here, but I see some people from the Big Blab event are coming back on, which they're Australians, and it's probably their nighttime. But I would like people to come in, like Tim, I'd like you to come in. Please put some input about this. Kara, please put some input about this, because I know you put in there exactly what I'm saying. We aren't being taught critical thinking anymore. Tim, I'd like to know your opinion about critical thinking and how it applies to the business world and just the world in general. Anyone else who please want to hop in and put some input about this. Again, just to let you know, I am basing my viewpoints on this website. Right. Let me see if I can get it. It's kind of hard to hold this microphone and go. Kristen, you want to put that website in there real quick?
Oh, sure.
Well, actually, I believe I've got it now.
Okay.
Here we go. This is the website that I am using to show what critical thinking is, and it's got 6 bullet points about what critical thinking is, and so feel free to go with it, and so I look forward to hear what everyone else to say. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks for starting the blab.
Yeah. Good job, buddy. All right. Oh, I tried to let you in. Try one more time, I guess. I would like to make a point that I think that it's actually the opposite. I think that we have never been closer to being able to teach more people the idea of critical thinking because of our connections.
Praise
never
God.
has there been a time where we have been more connected globally to one another and across cultures, across all these different lines. And I think we have a real opportunity here.
Yeah, we definitely are in a unique situation. I mean, in the past, every situation was unique, but this is very unique. This has never been the case in the past. Where, I mean, literally, so I lived in Thailand. Actually, I was in Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines last year at this time. But I taught a class at MIT. Okay. And we were having a conversation in here with Will in China, and I'm in the United States. And we've had these conversations with people. We've had like these conversations where we had somebody in Israel, someone in China, and someone in the United States, and both sides of the United States. And that capability has never existed before. That's a new thing. And you do get exposed to different ways of thinking and different norms. And that you have to think about this differently. What you can't pattern match in that situation. And I'll give you one little example. So in Thailand, they do a way. So they say hello, they just go Sawadee krap. Okay? Well, there's a couple things I did there. One, we do the bow, right?
Mm-hmm.
That little bow. There's an order on how you do the bow. The lower status person bows first and bows deeper than the higher status person. I said krap at the end, which is a polite word that basically is saying I'm a man. In Western society, you would address the person as Mr. So the other person is expected to know and announce your gender. In Thailand, you announce your own gender. So if you say Sawadee ka, that would be what you would say, Kristen.
Sawadee ka.
Perfect. And notice there's a tone. If you don't get the tone right, it's a different word. So there's all these parts in there, right, that are different. There's tones that are essential to get the words right. There's this backwards thing of how you are polite. You announce your gender. You don't reach out and touch somebody. You bow, right?
Which is not
here,
unlike Japanese culture. I remember that when I was over there. But it did not pick up on the other part that you were talking about. So I don't know if that's different culturally or if it's just something that I didn't pick up at the time.
Yeah, it may be different. Actually, that is different in that instance. But yeah, we do get in those situations where we have these pattern matching won't work, right? Oh, I'm going to be polite to somebody. I'm going to shake their hand, which is really pretty much going to creep somebody out in Thailand or in Asia. I don't want to touch your hand. Keep your dirty hand away from me.
Hello.
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 Good
I am
this?
new. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Good. I said I'm new here. I don't speak very English. I just want to improve my English.
Okay.
I want to listen.
This probably isn't the best room for you to do that, but where are you from?
I'm from Morocco.
Morocco. Okay, welcome.
Yes.
Shalom.
Thank you. And you?
I'm in the United States. I think Kristen is in the United States. And
From United States.
Yeah, United.
yes.
Yes.
So but there's a lot of other people here. There's some people in Canada. There's some people in the Netherlands. I'm looking at people across the top who are in the room. We've got somebody, Will's not here. He was in China. He's not here right now. Who else is here? Oh, we've got a bunch of people in Australia that I'm looking at. So
Good.
a lot of different people from all over the world.
What are you
So
talking
we were
about?
just
What topic
we were
you
just
talking
mentioning
about?
about being
Huh?
able to talk to different people from different places. And you are in Morocco. So how would you say hello to someone in Morocco? In
We say salam.
Salam.
Yes.
Would you
It mean-
put
it
your
mean-
hand
it mean-
out?
It mean peace.
Peace.
Yes, peace.
Would you hold your hand out to shake their hand?
Yes, like this.
Okay, so they shake hands in Morocco.
Yes.
Do people ever hug each other?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Generally
they miss
don't
each
do that.
other. What?
And they'll do the kiss too. You generally don't do that in America. If you
Really?
kiss somebody, that's pretty weird. You would only kiss perhaps your children or your spouse, maybe your your immediate family.
Yeah.
So
Here, you can do it with your friends.
right. Well, we probably would not do it with our friends either. It would only be with your family.
Yes, only friends. Only friends. Friends, family.
So that's a good example there of, he can do this and what we were talking about. And these just different tendencies here are these, you have to be able to prepare yourself to analyze these things, not just pattern match. Because
Yeah.
what you think, you're just copying what you know, won't work everywhere. It would almost work in Morocco, which is probably worse than it's not working at all. Like in Thailand, everything's different. Absolutely everything is different.
Yes.
So you're less likely to offend anybody. But in Morocco, it's a little different, right? They might come up to you and hug you or kiss you, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what are you thinking there?
Yeah.
Or if someone from Morocco were to come to the United States, they'd say, why is everyone angry at me? They don't give me a kiss.
Does that really stem from critical think? Like, could that be related to critical thinking, or is it just the result of cultural clash?
Well, but it is. So critical thinking, you're in a new situation. The rules are different. You can't just copy what you had before. So how do you deal with that situation? You have to use critical thinking. Is the person actually angry at me, or is there something else happening? Is this the correct thing to do or not?
Oh, but so we're presuming that the old pattern just doesn't work anymore.
Right. Well, in the situation where the pattern doesn't work, you have to use critical thinking.
To make it more like modern relevance, I would argue that's not really a bad pattern that we know is wrong. It's a pattern that we haven't been using in a while, which I guess is the whole point of critical thinking, to actually use a pattern that hasn't been used in a while.
Or it's a new pattern you don't know at all.
Critical thinking?
No, I mean, sorry, you're saying something else. But critical thinking is a skill. It's that you have to learn and apply.
Yeah, but it's just interesting that you say that we're in a new situation. What's an example? What's an example of bad patterns that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, a pattern's neither bad nor good on its own. It's bad if in a situation where it doesn't apply. You won't get the result you're looking for. So if she went to Thailand, here's a great one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? I go to Thailand, and I try to avoid eating pork when I'm in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
So pork, the word for pork in Thailand is mu.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Now, if in English we ask a question, we raise. So is there pork? Is there pork? We end with an up. If you were to say that in Thai and you would say mu, that just changed it from pork to snake.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking, is there snake in this? And they'll look at you and go, no. And have some more pig guts.
Okay, so I see this. This is an interesting argument, but are we really in a situation? Would you say that we're in a situation like that?
Well, we're always in situations like that, where there's something new, So pattern matching doesn't work. Pattern matching is really good for doing repetitive things quickly.
Well,
But
I understand that's pattern matching, but when we're talking about like those kind of changes might occur if we have an influx of if like a massive immigration issue. But do we have that anything outside of immigration issue?
It's not just massive immigration. We're constantly having new situations in every regard. I just happen to use the idea of saying a word or having an interaction with somebody, but we have.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I understand it is a good analogy you're trying to make here, just a loose analogy. But I'm trying to see I'm trying to apply this in our modern era, because most of us are in America, and most of us are talking like we might talk maybe slightly referring to like modern political American situations, and I'm trying to think about where this applies like significantly. Like, we're in a new situation, which is really, from my perspective, is really a compounding of ignoring our current situation, like the debts, the foreign wars, our irresponsible governance. So, is that really a new situation, or is like a compoundment of all the old ones? And more importantly,
yes.
How do we?
Notice I'm not going to say is it one or the other. It's both. It's yes. All of the things that we've done before add together to cause the situation now, which is a different situation than we had in the past. And we can expect to have a different situation in the future still. So when these changes get big enough, we cannot copy what we did in the past. It's new. So we have two problems here. We've got new conditions that we need to understand how to work in those new situations. Two, we need to be making choices so that we get the conditions in the future that are desirable. Because all of your actions will cause consequences. And if you don't think it through, if you don't know how to think it through, you will end up with conditions that you might not want.
So, well, yeah, that's obvious. I mean, if you to repeat a bad habit, it's the definition of psychopathy or the definition of insanity. But I mean, because it almost sounds like the way we're describing in critical thinking is like it's all an individual issue. Like these past issues have compounded on us not because of like indirect forces, but because of our own individual choices. Because I'm trying to apply to a greater political notion, but
it doesn't need to be that way. I mean, rather than you could say that there's some people got together and they planned to cause this way. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. I have some evidence to suggest that, yeah, people planned to cause this to occur. I do know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know some of the people who did it. And I've heard them talk.
Mm-hmm.
But not all of it comes that way. Some of it just comes about because you make a bunch of choices. That choice makes another choice easier to make than the first one. Than the second. You've got to make one choice, and now you had four choices that are possible. But because we made this choice, these three down here are probably not as likely to be made as this one now. So now you make that choice, as opposed to the other three, which leads you in another path. And you end up down some path where you don't have the choices that you wanted anymore, and you're stuck. Well, we've gotten ourselves into that, and we're now sitting here stuck, and we don't realize that we took the wrong fork back at Albuquerque, right? To quote a Bugs Bunny reference. But we made a decision 4 or 5 steps back that put us where we are now, and we didn't realize we were making that decision. We just did something.
I would make an argument that life is all about just making choices to do something, because we can never account for someone else's actions.
Sure we can.
I don't think we
You can
can.
account for other people's actions.
Could I account for ISIS
do that.
coming down on Paris? No, nor could anyone.
Surely
Except
can.
for the organization, which is not penetrable because it's a concept.
Well, actually, sorry, I'm jumping on you there, and you're
that's
such a
fine.
sweet person.
That's fine.
I won't
Jump on me.
I won't jump on you that way. But you did say something that's just not true.
Yeah.
And this is the whole point of critical thinking, right? You made a statement. Is that true or not? So you
And
made an
every statement
assertion.
that I make is actually a question. So
Yeah, but
I
that's
accept
fine.
that. You jump on
Actually,
me.
every statement comes with a question, right? Is it true? How does it? If it is true, what does that cause? What result does that cause? So say it again. What you were saying about something we couldn't know.
Okay. At the heart of what I was saying, we make choices. And life is all about making choices from moment to moment to moment. And we cannot predict another person's choice and how it will affect what we have planned.
Okay, is that true? You don't know. That's why you said it. How can you test that that's true or not?
Isn't it just an observation, though?
It's an observation, but it's an assumption, right?
It's an assumption.
She has taken that to be true. Is that true?
I don't know that we can test it. Is it testable?
Isn't that just a description of taking the information in front of you and making the best choice?
Yes.
Well, she said, but she made a specific prediction. We cannot
Predict.
know what other people will do, or what their choices will be, or how to plan for their choices. That's the specific
Well,
thing.
okay,
she
so
made.
plan. That is something that I see as something separate. Because I
Okay.
believe that we can make allowances for alternatives.
Yeah, cool. Somebody's been reading my book and he's seeing something I'm doing here.
Cool.
I'm pleased because somebody's learned something and they're learning more.
I've not
Okay,
read your
so
book.
He hasn't read the whole thing either. He's just just the first chapter. But so you can test it. You can test anything. Okay. You might have you limited in things you can test at this point. So, for instance, there's some science things that we can't test, but we know that ways we could test it if we had some tools. So we can test some things. And there's ways of testing stuff. You can either test it directly, forward, positive, saying to Joe, or you can test the opposite of it.
Okay.
So you can always test anything. So what people will choose? Well, if we know what they value, we can have a good guess of how they will act.
Do you
They will
know
choose
ISIS values? Because that's what is like
Yes.
blindsiding a lot of people.
No, that is their values are clearly stated. They have very clearly stated values that have been written down 1,600 years ago or 1,400 years ago. You can read it. They state them over and over again. You know what their values are. So you can predict pretty accurately because they stick to it.
So then, can you predict the next move that we should make in our fight against terrorism?
Yes. First off, we got to unpack the words you just used. So now I'm getting pretty picky on this.
Yeah, go for it. If you can do this, go for it.
All right. Well, actually, I've already posted an article on this a while ago.
Oh, I missed it.
But the key thing that you said fight, and you said terrorism. Terrorism is a tactic. You don't fight terrorism, okay? And fighting's the wrong term anyways. What we're trying to do is prevent people from being murdered.
Right.
Prevent people from being fearful of doing their life, okay? So let's clarify this. So this is one of the issues we were saying before about liberal, conservative, whatever. What are we actually saying when we say that word? What are the results we're trying to change? We don't want people murdered. We don't want things destroyed or damaged or injured. And we want to be assured that that's not going to happen.
Construction versus deconstruction.
Yeah. So how do we cause those results? The results we want is we don't want people killed, murdered. We want to be able to trust that people aren't going to get murdered. We don't want our property damaged, and we want to trust that our property won't be damaged.
Property is like nothing compared to life, but okay.
Well, we want both of those, because property really is life. It's a portion of life. You had to spend a certain amount of your life to get that property, to make the things. And you need that property, and some property, to keep your life going, right? To get your food and your housing and your shelter. So don't discount property that just offhand. Yes, life is more important, but property is just a chunk of life, and it's essential to life. So we want both. We want our property. We want to be sure. We want to be comfortable in knowing. We want to be trusting that our property and our life are safe.
Happiness is security.
Can be. So we want those four things. We need four things, and that's what we mean when we say, quote, fight terrorism. We want terrorism to be gone. There's no terror, right? Our stuff's not getting damaged. We're not getting damaged, and we're not worried about us getting damaged or our stuff getting damaged. All right. So why do people damage things? Why are they doing this? Well, we can look at this. Generally, so in the instance of, and Jonas.
Yes.
Are you a Muslim?
Yes, I'm Muslim.
Yes. Are you a serious Muslim, or did you just were born into being a Muslim?
No, I'm Muslim.
Okay. So, I want to try to include you on this, but there's some tricks. This gets a little tricky.
Yeah.
Because what happened in 711?
700?
Yes. The year 711.
I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't remember. Okay. Does anybody know what happened in the year 711?
711. Any particular place or?
I don't like to talk about religion.
Okay.
I
Well,
know of the
talk about
Quran
me.
that it's a beautiful book with
Huh?
a beautiful poetry. That's what I know of it.
Okay. Have you actually read it?
I read
talk about-
passages.
Okay.
Let's talk about taking a decision.
All right. Well, I will tell you what actually happened in 700. There was 1711. No, 711. 711 is when the Islamic forces invaded Europe, and they invaded Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And they conquered Spain and conquered most of southern Europe, and they held it for hundreds and hundreds of years. They violently conquered that area and held it and subjugated the people to oppressive rule. Okay? And there's why that number, there's a significance to that number. So when you hear these 11s, that's why those 11s are there, because they're meaningful to them. It's kind of like the 4th of July is to us in the United States, or whatever Boxing Day is or something. Yes, in Spain. Okay? So there were certain values that they had. Well, one of the values that's stated in the Quran and the Hadiths is to take over the world and make it one deen. Everybody has to follow this one religion. And if they have to be subjugated by force, that's okay. versus the Bible, particularly the New Testament, where it says you're not allowed to use force at all. You're supposed to turn the other cheek. So there's certain values that will indicate how people will act. Okay? And notice I'm not going to say whether one is better or worse, okay? I'll let you decide that for yourself. But they have results. If you value using force to push your opinion on other people, which, by the way, Marxism does the same thing,
I
then
agree with
you can trust that people will use force to push their opinions on you. If they value you freely choosing their opinions, say like the Quakers. I mean, the Quakers are really strong that way. Or the Amish. The Amish are never going to go to war. You're never going to have to worry about the Amish coming in and, doing terrorism. Not going to happen. Because their value system, what is important to them is you choosing for yourself, for them being peaceful. Okay? So you've got that first aspect for this one group. But we have other people who, in the United States, we've got these, quote, terrorism instances that aren't religiously exactly motivated. We call them crazies. But that's discounting, right? It's just, okay, they're just not the same as us and they're just crazy. Well, but they're trying to get something. Generally, what they're trying to get is trying to get recognition. They want recognition for themselves. They want the sense of power. So here's something we do wrong every time, at least in the United States and these quote crazy people attacking. We put it on the media 24 hours a day, talk about it a whole bunch, put their picture up. And that tells other people, hey, if I want to get attention and have a sense of power, that's how I do it. What we should do is say, oh, some people were killed. There was this poor, pitiful person who lost touch with reality. Don't list their name. And if you know of anybody who you think might do that, help them out. And this is how we can help them out. Because they're weak and they need help. And we should all mourn for the loss of the victims here. If you presented it that way, that neutralizes one of the goals. That makes that way of getting that goal, that recognition, that sense of power, that goes away. You don't do it with violence anymore because it's not effective. Now we can keep going through this. One of the other problems that we do is we have groups of people all piled together in tight-knit packed groups. And then we say when people are packed together in tight groups, no one can have any self-defense. Now, I know people have different issues and worries about all this and concerns for this, but practical value of this, you've got a whole bunch of people that are helpless in one tight area. That's exactly where someone who wants to do harm can hit. It's literally shooting fish in a barrel, right? Pow, 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 pow. You don't set those situations up. Don't do that. So either one, try to disperse people a little bit more, or at the very least, have somebody there who can defend those people, because we know this can occur. We always have in big buildings where we have lots of people. We have fire alarms. We have exit doors. We have fire extinguishers. Where you have these conditions where massive harm can happen, you have to prepare for dealing with that massive harm because you don't know when it might happen. And so there's lots of and also if that exists, then people who are interested in doing that will say, that's hard.
Why don't you know that it's going to happen?
Well, you don't necessarily know it's happened, but you can know that if you set a condition up to make it likely to happen, it's more likely to happen. so now the motivation, right? We said motivation. People feel lack of power. Well, why do people feel a lack of power? Get back to the schools we had, where from a very early age, you're told, when they ask why, shut up. They're not taught critical thinking skills. So they're confused and they can't build a life for themselves. So as things change, for instance, right now we're getting a lot of automation that's going out in the world. So these copy repeat jobs are going away because computers and machines are much better at copy repeat. They can do it faster. They can do it longer. They'll do it more accurately.
They're now
They do it
being
cheaper.
taught emotion.
Yeah, they can't do that stuff. But we're not encouraging the skills that people need. So they really are helpless. So they don't like the feeling of helplessness. They maybe are actually suffering real results of this helplessness. They can't get a job. They're poor, or maybe they aren't poor, but they're limited in what they want to be able to do. They feel cut off. So they try to go about it a different way. Then on another situation we do, what are all the movies that we put on and the television shows? How many different times do we show somebody shooting somebody on television or in a movie? And do we ever in those movies show
Resolution.
the actual results of what would happen if that occurred? No. The widows, the orphans, the injured, the injured people sitting there suffering, them having to recover.
No.
It's all glorified and cartoonized.
Not to sidetrack. Well, never mind. I'll save it for later.
Well, now I'm curious.
Go ahead.
It's just like it's a very interesting analogy you have to say, like, because you're saying that a culture that you're suggesting that, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're suggesting that we're in a culture that embraces violence, or in a culture that justifies violence
We're in a culture, and rather than say a culture, we are doing actions. A lot of people are doing actions that will cause violence to be more likely. So rather than saying culture as we are, I'm saying we're doing actions that will cause results. And that's a key differentiator there. Because it's really difficult to change who we are, but it's real easy to change what we do. Or what you do. If you change what you do, and that person changes what they do, we have a conspiracy, because now we have a we. And we're conspiring to do good stuff, productive things.
So
the result of not violence.
So, but the whole analogy that you're making, like ranging from terrorism to local connections, is the connection in that we should apply, like, the reason why they're like that is because they prefer that way of violence in the response to other things, and that we're just responding back to them in kind? Or am I missing something in that? Because I was trying to see how it relates to, like, how the differentiation of critical thinking and how we apply certain problems and solve new problems, and I'm trying to see where that connection is.
Okay, listen to how I went through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you lose people, right there, Mark. That's where it is. Right there.
Go back. And how did I do that? How did I break that down?
Well, no, I was trying to see the connection.
That's where you lose people is when you say, "Listen to me, listen to how I did it," and that's when you lose people.
I gotcha, but how did I go through that?
I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking.
All right. Well, I will go back through and I'll explain how I did it. Rather than copying what I told you, learn the process so you can do it yourself.
No. I want to. What was the point? Like, were you trying to lead me to something? Because I think I was lost in it.
Can you repeat in another way?
Sure, I'm going to repeat it, and I'm going to go step by step explaining my process. So first off, she said, "How do we stop terrorism?" first thing is I have to define what terrorism actually means. What are the results we're trying to change?
Well, she's not trying
And
to.
we
She's not
broke
referring to all terrorism. She's just referring to specifically.
No, I want to get rid of all of
No,
it.
all
I want to
terrorism.
get rid of all of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but is there like a very diverse level of terrorism going on right now?
If you look at it, if you define terrorism by the 4 results we described, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're trying to change those 4 results. We want people to not be murdered. We want stuff to not be broken or damaged. And we want to feel confident that people aren't going to be murdered and that our stuff's not going to be broken or damaged or stolen.
Well, yeah, but
Okay.
she's referring to like something that we all can relate, like we're all consciously relating to, not like the broad idea of terrorism. We all dislike terrorism, but we're referring to something that has a very clear point.
No, that was what I was
listen to
getting
what I
at.
just said. Very, very careful. Listen to what I said. Focus exactly on what I said. I am being exactly, incredibly, seriously precise. And by doing that, I'm also being very general.
Yeah.
It's all inclusive. We focus on the results. What results are we trying to achieve? People not being murdered? Are things not being broken or stolen? Assurance that people aren't going to be murdered, and assurance that our stuff is not going to be broken or stolen.
So we never get actually. I see. You were just explaining what she said, and we never actually got around to any application of just choices to make.
Oh no, I did. That's what I spent the last hour doing. That was coming. So that's the first thing you got to do. What results are you trying to achieve? And we had 4. And if we get those 4, we're good with anything else. Nothing else matters as far as that's concerned. We don't have terrorism anymore. There's no terror because we're not worried, and we're not getting murdered and our stuff damaged and stolen, so we don't care. So how do we get that? Well, why do people murder people? Why do people steal stuff and break things? Well, steal stuff and break things is typically because they either are jealous or they can't get the stuff themselves. They don't feel they can get it another way.
I think there's some more reasons, though.
Okay.
Well, it could
Go ahead.
It could be ideological perfection.
I
All right,
think
well-
that being born into a love of family, because like I believe, I mean, I'm not a part of ISIS, but as far as I can understand, groups who have been born. I have a husband who was schizophrenic, and so that's where I kind of connect here.
All right. Let me pause you right here, okay? Rather than trying to say ISIS, let's check on an individual getting the things they want.
Okay. All right. So an individual that is trying to get the things they want, that is born into a family teaching them that this is the way that they're going to get it and this is the right way to show love.
Okay.
I think that this person would have a different moral set.
Okay. All right.
Where'd you go?
Yes, I totally agree with you. So
You're ghosting.
now listen to what I said. Okay? Listen to how I said this. I'm going to be very specific again. They're trying to get something, so they're trying to cause a result.
Right.
There are always 36 different ways of getting any result. But we'll get into that. But there's lots of ways of getting a result. Okay? You said if they grew up in a family and they showed this, they would know certain ways of getting the result.
Or be taught.
It does not involve using violence, right?
Oh, I don't think I included that part with the no violence. Just that they were born into a family that teaches them a certain way. And a family could be an organization, it could be a club, it could be a gang, it could be a group of people, it could be, just a support system.
Mark.
Hello, Mark.
And where birth
I
begins is a different place
I think he's
for
gone.
different people. Oh, hopefully he'll come back.
He says, I think my internet ended for the month.
No! We were onto something. Okay, good.
Oh, wait, there he is.
I'll zip it. You can just say whatever you want to say. Just teach me.
But he's coming. I think he's coming back. But that was interesting because he was breaking it down in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
But I think we kind of I was under the impression that we're talking about what we do in response to terrorism as opposed to what the terrorists want. Like he's.
Oh no. Okay, my question, at least, what I was asking, he totally grasped onto, and he totally got like what I was asking. That's what I was wondering was what do the terrorists want?
Oh, there he is.
Okay, good. So yes, I did both. I did both things. What they want, okay, and then how to fix it. Because if you know what they want, you can change what they're going to do.
Right.
If they can get the thing a different way, you've stopped the terrorism.
I mean, I just break it down to kids. Like, if you know what your child wants, then you can figure out different ways to get them the same maneuver things around so that everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah. Children are born terrorists, by the way. You know that screeching, horrible little scream they do?
They're nursers. They're biters.
No, they want something, and they'll hit you with that sonic attack. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I got 6 of them.
So in response to so we can change the quote unquote terrorists by changing their circumstances.
Well, what you can do is you're being a little overbroad in what you're doing, and I'm trying to be very specific to what we can achieve and what we can't achieve.
I think you're being broad in your specifics.
What?
I personally think you're being a little too broad in your specifics. Because it's not like you want to. I'm hearing you that you're explaining the details down in very minute explanations, but I think it's kind of lost in the general discussion of how we and they respond to it.
No, it's not. But boy, this is going to come across so bad.
But please, by all means, I love it.
You are not quite up to par in dealing with this, to understanding what I'm saying. So I'm teaching you how to do this, and it's new for you.
Me too,
so
right?
You're getting lost.
Mark, do you mind if I hop in really quick? Since
Please, that's fine.
Hop in and just kind of give this kind of perspective. I think what you're trying to say is that it's kind of like a game of cards, poker or rook or whatever, or a board game or whatever. You have an offensive strategy. You have a defensive strategy. You have to understand what everyone's strategy is in the game. You have to understand, what do I want offensively? What do they want defensively? And that's where critical thinking comes into play in this kind of thing is you have to understand, are they on the offense or are they on the defense? Am I on the offense? Am I on the defense? What side am I really on when it comes to, am I even on a side at all? Or am I on the right side or the wrong side, or am I being wishy-washy or whatever? So yeah, that's kind of what I kind of wanted to just pop in and just say that it's taking knowing where you fit in and how you can change things depending on if you're an offensive or defensive. So, Mark, does that fit in with what you're saying?
Well, I just like the idea of offense and defense. I want to be a little bit more general, and I don't mean general to be broad and not accurate. I I'm trying to be accurate. We're trying to get results. We're trying to get desired results.
Well, that's what I was saying. Every side tries to get a desired result.
Yeah.
Either offense
Yep.
or
So
defense.
everybody's always trying to get their desired results and minimize or eliminate their negative results. So in your offensive defensive thing, if you can create situations that have a lot of negative results for them doing something, they're less likely to do it. If you can cause situations that make it easier for them to get the positive results and you don't have any negative results from that approach, you've now made it more likely they'll do that. And so you've minimized your negative results.
It's like
increased
a game
their
of
positive
chess
results.
or whatever you want to say. It's kind of like a game of chess.
Yeah. And now people still have free will and they can do crazy ass shit sometimes. But people tend to act a lot less crazy, quote crazy, than we claim, right? They're doing something for a reason. We might not quite grasp their reason, but if we make more of an attempt to grasp their reason, we've drastically increased our capability to understand what they're going to do and how to get them and how to make our desires come together.
Yeah, and that's another point that I kind of want to point into that we didn't talk about this in critical thinking is that one, you have to know yourself, and then also know the people around you and know how your action affects their actions and how their action affects what you're doing. And you kind of really have to it's like a game of, it's kind of like going to court. You gotta, each side has to present their case of what, is the best for this situation or whatever.
It was definitely like what we were saying. If we went to Thailand or whatever, you've got to understand what they're up to, and your point of view isn't the only point of view.
There's a multitude of point of views, but understanding the existence of point of views doesn't really give greater application to it. I mean, you're saying that I should be aware of their point of view, but
if you don't know there's a different point of view, you're going to have a real hard time applying a different point of view.
Who doesn't know that these days?
A lot of people.
Well, it could just be
a lot of people go around in life acting like there is no point of view but their own.
Yeah, isn't that just is it because they're ignorant of them or they just don't care?
I think it
doesn't really matter, right? If they're ignorant of it or they don't care, you get the same result. They're not. And if they don't care, they might be intentionally ignorant.
Yeah. So that was my viewpoint. I'm a hop off. Also, since I'm in here and this seems to be going at a good rapid clip, please, if you would like to be a co-host, please let somebody in here know. This may even turn out to be like a 168-hour blab. I don't know. Hopefully it might. But if you want to be a co-host, please let us know. We'll let you in. Let's keep this going as much as we can. I'm very surprised that this has been going on since 1:00 in the morning my time, which is now 7:30 in the morning my time.
Oh, it's 7:30.
Yes, it's 7:30 Eastern. So I'm very, very happy with this. So again, Kristen, you and Mark and Joe and Luke, please encourage people to keep this going as much as they can. Bring other people in, and I may have to get some sleep so that I can come back in later in the week or later in the day and see where this is gone. So
I might have to do that too.
Well, I can't keep going here forever. I got to do some stuff, but I'll keep going in this. So somebody's saying here, says ISIS isn't really a religious motivated group of people. They're a politically charged group of Muslims that the media has whitewashed with controversial horseshit, and America is to blame for this shitstorm. Okay, so somebody just made a claim right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a claim, and we can test this claim.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And all you have to do is read their book. Are their actions matching what was written in the Quran and the Hadiths? And I will argue that they are. Because they're the same things that as I point out, 711, that's what was done. This is what Muhammad did. That's what his followers are doing. The same thing. And that's what ISIS is actually doing. They're following their book to the letter.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, it's religiously motivated. No, it's not horseshit that we played on them. They are following their rule book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do you adjust for that? So if they're not in the pattern we said before about wanting value and whatever, getting some stuff, but they're trying to follow a rule book, how do you address that?
Actually,
Well,
it's the rule book.
you have to win them over to another set of rules, another set of values.
Convert people to another religion, basically.
Well, now I'm bristling at the word religion, but you have to convert them to a different set of beliefs and values, but mostly values.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but isn't that all intertwined though? It would be ideal if they. It would be ideal if they convert to other ideas, but that's going to be difficult to change if that's if that's like ingrained in their culture, ingrained in their people. That's going to be. I understand that. I know we're not really here to address issues, but you're talking about changing their identity, basically.
Okay. Well,
Mark,
okay. Yeah, you're right. So here's the thing, right? So we're trying to keep this focused on the critical thinking, right?
Yeah.
If you are so tied up in what you're doing as my identity, as opposed to the truth, then you make a choice to go for a lie instead of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And now your identity is a lie. You identify with the lie.
Right.
And now that's real easy to do if you don't do any critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know it's a lie.
All right.
Right?
sorry, Mark.
Yes.
Huh? Oh, I thought it was.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Maybe
Jonas?
problem not maybe religion. It's not problem, but only understanding. Maybe you don't understand religion good.
Maybe.
That's the problem.
But, well, okay. So, first thing you need to check is what is written down. What does the book actually say?
Religion.
Well, you've got different books. So we've got Quran, we've got the Bible. What do they say? What values do they promote? Then check those. And I'm hearing the call to prayer.
Oh, so it's not just me.
No, what's the word for the call to prayer?
Quran.
No. What's the word? I know it's the salat. No, salat was it, or is that something else?
Oh no, Adhan.
Adhan, yes. So we're hearing the Adhan.
Yeah.
Adhan, all right.
So what's your religion, Mark? You're Christian.
Yes. But I'm not a religion. I don't have a religion. I have a relationship with the Creator. Very different concept. But I don't want to get into that right
Yes,
here.
we don't need really. We need just to be as peace and respect. We don't need religion. We just need to be a good man.
Right. But now we're back to where we were before. What is good? What does good mean? What is the values? What do we value? So,
Sorry.
And I'm going to go on, but I'm going to get back to this. Whatever you value will cause you to make choices that get different results.
So is that addressing?
Go ahead.
Is that addressing what he said or what I was saying?
It addresses anybody, right? Whatever your values are, what you find more valuable than something else. If you value having a BMW more than you value your children spending time with you, then you're going to go out and do the things to get the BMW and not do the things to have your children spend time with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
If you value, being, I don't know, anything, right? More than you value someone else's life, you might kill them.
But Mark, you believe in God and heaven and hell.
Yeah, but so this is getting into beliefs. My beliefs is not really important
Mm-hmm.
in this conversation. We're trying to stick to the topic of critical thinking.
Yes.
And how do you check this stuff? So, whatever you believe, there's ways of checking this and really the first thing you want to look at is all of your beliefs and all of your values will lead to, when you act on them, will cause different consequences, the results. So what results will you get by having certain beliefs and certain values? You can critically think about this. You can use logic to apply this. And one of the techniques for that is to take it to the absolute extreme. If we do this and we take it completely to the farthest extreme, what result do we get? So, and I will get into a religion thing in here, but as I said before, Amish take the Bible to the ultimate extreme. They do not do war. They do not fight. They are one of the most peaceful people on the planet because they take it to the extreme. The values of love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. The value of turning the other cheek. They take that to the most extreme. And that's what you get. If you take other values and you take them to the most extreme, you will get other results. You will not get peace. You will get violence. And so, or you'll get other instances. For instance, Buddhism or Hinduism. You think Buddhism is a very peaceful religion? Yeah, it is. But some of the core beliefs and values of Buddhism is nothing matters. You're supposed to be disconnecting yourself from wanting, which tends to lead you to not caring about anybody. That's the ultimate result of that. If you're not supposed to care, you don't care about anybody else. And that's why you notice in these Buddhist and Hindu countries, you have massive poverty, crazy, ridiculous poverty, because people can blind themselves to it, because that's their value. Values have consequences. So, at the very least, in yourself, think about what you value. Make a list of values. Just make a list of things you like. Then maybe try to sort those. Put them in order.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to disappear now. But I guess in closing, I would like to say, we want to get rid of patterns, but there's a certain pattern in that Amish stuff that I think that should be applied a lot more often.
Yes.
Well, but they're
not just pattern matching though. Oh. They make a conscious decision to do this every day.
Ah, that's perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me on your get blab.
Well, thank you. You were very helpful. You asked good questions.
I like to do that. I like to go to political meetings and do that to my communist friends. If I can call them friends, but that's another time. Well, thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful morning, evening, or whatever it is in your time zone.
You too. Sawadee krap.
Adios, amigo.
Good thing he's out of there, because now I can say I'm more red than anything. So, just kidding. Just teasing,
What
yeah.
about you, Kristen?
But I am
What?
kind of a socialist.
What about your religion?
What?
What about your religion?
Oh, I don't like religion. I believe that religion is the new Politico.
Well, I guess you could do this. Actually, I'm going to probably get out of here soon, so we can maybe stop the. Actually, I think that's enough.